Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Becoming the 1% podcast. My guest today is James Pieratt. He is the creator of Wild Hunt Conditioning. You are not going to want to miss this. We dive into his new book. We dive into the history of strength and conditioning. We dive into the primal man, exactly what it means to be a well-rounded athlete and a well-rounded human being in general. Enjoy. James, thanks for coming on, man. Seriously.
Welcome. Thanks for having me, guys.
Making the trip, coming out. We really appreciate that. That's a high compliment. So much to get into, so much to talk about. I want to open it up to you here at the beginning. That's the way I like to start the format of the episodes. I want to hear about the guest. I want to hear about, wild hunt conditioning, all of that. But let's get into that a little bit later.
Okay.
Let's start with you, your background. Now, today, you're a bear hunter. You hunt with a bow. Yeah. You've obviously tailored your conditioning and your training around that type of an activity. But talk to me about before Wild Hunt, kind of before that company. Where did that all start?
It's hard to tell that story without starting at the beginning, so I guess I'll just start there.
It's a great place to start.
So my dad is a bear hunter also, and a houndsman from a long line of Appalachian bear hunters. So on that side, I'm Appalachian. My mom's the Japanese-American daughter of a internment camp survivor.
Whoa.
And, so it was like I grew up pretty humble. I was born in the smallest mountain range in the world, the Sutter Buttes. I had a pretty humble upbringing. My dad was a sheriff's deputy. My mom stayed at home. Later on, I ended up getting just kind of slowly, one thing after another, into more and more serious trouble, and eventually ended up fully immersed in the outlaw life, I guess you would call it. Ended up serving time. I was an armed robber, served time for that, and a bunch of other stuff in several facilities over the years, and really didn't do anything at all with my life until I was like 31.
Wow.
And I'm 35 now, but I just kind of woke up one day and I don't know, it's this simple little realization. It's like, if I had made, I don't like where I'm at in my life, and if I've arrived here from making a series of poor decisions, it only stands to reason that making better decisions would carry me somewhere more favorable.
Mm-hmm.
And saying it out loud, it's the most simple thing in the world, but my brain had just...
But to put into practical application, especially when you've grown up a certain way, and you mentioned that you were living that outlaw life. Were you gang affiliated?
No, I was always a lone wolf, so I'm not sure whether that was a good thing or a bad thing, but I mostly robbed drug dealers and, some actual establishments and
sure,
but primarily, so it's kind of the opposite of that.
Yeah. Was it kind of you did it a bunch of times and then you got caught once and that was enough, or did you have several sort of run-ins with the law?
A little bit of both. So it was long-term, ongoing, like years and years of this sort of behavior, as well as my own struggles with addiction. And essentially, as the addiction grew, I became sloppier, and eventually that only ends one way.
Sure.
And then, but even after that, it just took me, I did start working out. For the first time I started seriously working out was when I was locked up at 19 for a robbery charge.
Okay.
And so that was kind of, in a way, like in a roundabout way, a good thing. That really was my introduction, because I did the same thing every day. It
gives you an outlet, something to keep your mind occupied.
So it introduced me to not only working out, but also studying reading essentially, but my interest in the historical studies, and meditation and minimalism, just like living a small, simple existence, a good construct the best routine possible and just live that every day as your entire reality. And I still integrate that. I don't watch the news. I don't follow politics. I don't engage in celebrities.
That's probably a healthier mindset.
It's a good plan.
The truth is, I don't even really consume social media. I work. It's part of my job, obviously, but I'm producing content. I'm working. You know what I mean? But outside of supporting my friends and the stuff they do and whatever, I'm not really on there.
Sure.
And I find that kind of keeping it simple, straight. My dad would say keep it simple, stupid.
Of course.
And it's so if I can just do A and B to the best possible quality of my ability, then I think that generally serves me better than trying to do A, B, C, and D.
Yeah. You mentioned your father. Was he a part of, at this time when you were dealing with this kind of, I mean, apparently dealing with some stuff and having to make this transition in your life? Was he there? Was he a part of this transition?
No, we were estranged for many years, and we reconnected actually just a few years ago, and then he died unexpectedly in December of this past year. So
sorry to hear that.
Sorry for your loss.
Yeah, man.
Thanks, guys. But it's, and obviously it was rough. This winter was rough, but it mostly just left me feeling really grateful that we had the years that we had, because we could have not reconnected as well, you know, and that could have never happened. And I mean, we got to hunt like last year. I hunted bear with him, and I got stranded in a snowstorm. I was out on a solo hunt. I was up there for 2 weeks in Idaho, and it was April, like beautiful weather. And they said we were going to get like a little dusting of snow, which I thought would be perfect.
Go ahead, continue.
Because bear are hard to track, so like a little dusting of snow would have been perfect, because I could see actual tracks and really follow them a lot easier. Anything I hit, blood trail. Blood's a lot brighter on snow than it is on dirt to track.
Yeah.
And bear can be hard because they have they don't bleed a lot. They have like real thick fur, real thick hides, and it's not like you shoot a deer
even with a vital
lung.
because I'll be honest with you, I've actually never had success hunting bear. I've hunted bear, but I've never actually shot one.
A lot easier with dogs.
I can imagine.
With dogs.
I've done cat. I've done mountain lion with dogs. That is oh man. What would you say, not to transition too sharply, but we're on this, what would you say is the most physically intensive animal to try to hunt?
Bear. Because it's hunting cat, like hunting mountain lion and hunting boar are definitely harder on the dogs, because they're just like cat essentially they get more scared, so they'll turn and fight. Whereas like with a bear, if you get 6 good hounds on a bear, it's not going to stick around. But it's more like you or I, like running into like 6 hornets, like, you know what I mean? We're mostly annoyed, we just kind of want to be somewhere else, but we're not like,
they're not out to kill the dogs. They'll tree, they'll just kind of
they'll go and when they get
whereas if the cat gets them, the cat will kill them. So with I think boar is probably the worst. Would you agree for the dog?
I would. Historically, like,
you went on a boar hunt with spears, didn't you?
No, knives.
It was Texas.
Respect. Never done that. I've never done. I can say I've never done that.
Walk us through that. I've never gotten into that really with you in a detailed, especially not in the podcast. What was that experience like?
Yeah, so you had really 2 fast dogs that were kind of tracking the boars and everything like that. And then once we got up close, there's one big dog that would come and actually grab it by the ear, and then one of our guides would basically go behind, grab the legs, and pull it down. And then it was your job to kind of go in and stab and
like butchering a pig.
Exactly.
Yeah. What type of dogs they use?
That is a good question. It was several years ago, and I don't remember. So
I mean, they definitely had hounds. Yeah. I don't know what breed, but they were.
Yeah, we've always used blue ticks, red ticks, walkers, and then we really like plot hounds. But like the old saying amongst bear hunter is like, if you get a whole pack of plot hounds together, there's not gonna be any bear left by the time you get there.
Will they kill the bear?
Yeah, well, they'll tear it to shreds. Like plot hounds are different. My dad would tell me that most of the hounds that for hunting bear and just hounds in general come from England and France. Mm-hmm. They came over with early colonists, and they were interbred, and they picked the big ones, and the ones that were tend to be better at tracking animals.
Again, but the tapping.
So, but the plot hounds come from Germany. They were from like the Black Forest, I believe, and so they were kind of like their own thing. And I believe it was a man.
Can you pull up those? I'm trying to picture in my head, Jake.
They're beautiful looking dogs.
Plot hound.
Plott.
TT hound. Yeah. Okay.
And I believe it was Johannes Plott. Some guy with the last name Plott brought him out. A bunch of them out here for his family, and they
Germany.
Yeah, to North Carolina, and that's where they kind of just originated. And they've just always been different. They're just harder.
Germany does dogs. I mean, the German Shepherd,
a plot hound. A plot hound doesn't.
Oh yeah, that I have seen those. Oh, those guys get big.
Yeah, and they don't break. Like they never quit. They don't they're not deterred ever. No. But they're great with kids. They can be like great family dogs too.
Beautiful dog.
It's always amazing to me. I mean, the canine breed in general, and what we as humans have been able to do. I mean, through multitude of generations of manipulation and breeding to make an animal that is that ferocious and that determined to do one thing, to hunt, and they love it. Oh, yeah. We've done this with our uncles in Texas. He did it with his friends in Texas. Hunting with dogs, you really come to realize it's a huge, I think hunting in general may be one of the most misunderstood concepts. It really anywhere, but especially when it comes to the dogs. People have they think the dogs are, somehow misused or they love it.
Oh,
It's their favorite thing. When you get them ready to go and they know what they're about to do, that's what they're there to do.
Oh yeah.
And a dog pack, watching them watch when they get on it and you got to keep up with them. That was my experience with Cat, is just how much endurance it took to keep up with those. And here's the thing. I don't know if you know this. Cats don't walk in a straight line. Like, they don't just go and then no, it's up and down and up and down. And you're because you can't go off the trail. You have to follow their trail. You are exhausted by the end of that day.
So it's funny you bring that up. That's actually my childhood right there, was following hounds, running hounds on bear in the mountains with my dad. And so that's where my conditioning comes from.
You're looking at the specific dogs in the hunt. If you want to show him that.
Oh, there we go. I haven't seen that picture. That's cool.
Oh, neat.
Was the guy's name Johannes Plot? Is that what he said? It's something Plot though, right?
The specific dog. Oh, that's him right there.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the kind of dog you use.
Oh yeah, actually, that's pretty. That looks like a red tick that I.
Yeah, so he got nicked a little bit on the neck, so that's why he's a little bloody. But here's the.
That's the other thing, like you said, the taxing hunts for the dogs.
Yeah,
they get hurt.
Yeah, they're big boys.
Oh yeah.
And that would be I'm really jealous. That's probably one of the only like big hunting experiences that you had that I was really jealous that I didn't get to partake in. That would be fun to hunt them with a spear, with a knife.
I don't know where you got spear. There was no spears involved.
Some dudes do it.
Nice. So people do them with spears.
Yeah,
I thought it was Oh yeah.
Florida.
I mean, I would say it's definitely smarter to do it with a spear than with a knife. I mean, you're at least a little bit away.
I'll stick with the bow.
Have you seen that that Josh Bomar video hitting a bear with a spear?
No.
He took it down, bro.
No.
He took a black bear down from a ground blind. He's
waiting over bait.
Yeah.
Bait,
baited.
yeah.
That still takes balls.
Yeah.
Oh, and he shows the videos of him practicing, and he kept making and breaking his spears over and over again. He goes, well, I got to figure this out. He basically like welded his big carbon fiber blade to this like shaft, this metallic shaft that he ended up sticking with after he went through a bunch of wood ones and finally he made one to where he could like puncture an archery target with this knife, and it would go in like this far. He's like, all right, I think this will work. And then he just went hunting with it.
He must have got really good at throwing a spear, because it's not easy.
He ended up, correct me if I'm wrong, Jake, is he the one who almost died? Didn't he like fall on his spear?
I don't know if I know he almost died in a fire accident.
I am almost positive that Josh Bomar, if you look it up after we do this, if it's the right guy, fell out of his tree blind with his spear, and his spear nicked his femoral artery out in the middle of the wilderness. I think he was in Alaska or something. And he ended up basically YouTubing himself until he almost passed out. And then his hunting buddy managed to get him to a hospital. But this is a crazy avid hunter. I mean, that's all he does now is like hunt with a spear.
That's awesome. But yeah, you see that with the tree blinds and, even arrowheads, guys cut themselves up real bad.
Yeah.
I don't really use them much, but...
You don't use you don't use arrowheads?
No, tree blinds.
Oh,
or
right.
Tree stands in general.
Because you don't use that so much for bear, do you?
I mean, you can. Some guys do. You can, but they smell. Their sense of smell is better than a bloodhound. So it's like and you're like it's not. I don't know. Not really tricking them.
It's very. Is this the thing of him getting the bear?
Yeah. I'm just gonna try and get to where he throws his spear.
I mean, it's coming up. It'll be in a matter of seconds.
Just square it up on him too. Oh, there you go.
Is that it?
Yeah.
No, I haven't seen this one.
Though.
He did. Wait, he did it from up? No, this is another one. I haven't seen this one. Is that a grizzly?
That's a brown bear.
Oh my gosh! No, I haven't seen this.
Yeah, that's not a black bear.
Eli, let me know if you're showing this. If you are,
No,
I won't.
I'm not.
You're not? Okay, so he is up in a tree blind looking down.
This is a different one. This is not
that's a
Bomar.
brown bear.
This is not Josh Bomar.
This is not Josh Bomar?
This must be someone else. Tim Wells, bow
Oh,
hunter.
great. So this is catching on. Are you kidding me?
You won't see me hopping on that tree.
No. Is he going to jump on it? Okay, so he's aiming the spear down. He got
He
it.
had a camera on the spear.
He got a
too.
camera on the spear, and you can see it. Wow, perfect. Literally a perfect shot. That's
That was.
right.
That was
Right through the lungs. That's perfect. That's incredible. If you think about it, though, it's incredible that we do it today, but people did it for hundreds of years.
Yeah, mainstay.
I mean, who do I think the Maasai hunt lions even today with spears.
They
like
do.
11-year-old boys do it.
They do.
I think hunting is probably one of the oldest human activities that we've ever done.
Oh no, undoubtedly.
You had to get food. You had to forage. We learned how to farm, I think, after we learned how to hunt, though.
Oh no. So that's not even close. Like we hunted for like hundreds of thousands of years before we even knew a thing about farming's like 10,000, 12,000 years ago. And in some parts of the world, like the New World, 3,000, 4,000. Like you're talking, they were building pyramids the time, that like the Incas were, certain people were learning just to farm. So farming's super recent.
Really?
And like that's
even
a lot
like basic farming. It's all
we just foraged before, and it was seasonal fruit, nuts, you know what I mean, and you had stuff seasonally, you know what I mean, specifically, and it just naturally the way it worked out, you got your vitamin C when you needed your vitamin C and your vitamin, you know what I mean, it worked out.
So that's where hunter-gatherer came from?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you would forage or you would hunt in order to get food.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think anybody would argue that food was certainly better back then.
No, it was. I mean, it's interesting too, because you can look at the individuals, and essentially when we went to like the agricultural revolution brought us safety at the cost of quality. So if you look at the individuals, and this is not like some paleo spiel, this is just basic anthropology and archaeology. If you look at human skeletons before and after the introduction of mainstream agriculture in any given area, and you can look at it because it comes to different areas at different points in time. So it's like you can observe this as a local phenomenon over and over again.
Yeah.
But essentially what you see is once agriculture gets there, people get smaller, they get weaker, their skeletons become less robust, their jaws and their heads get smaller. They also develop back pain and knee pain that is generally not observed as forks. You're doing a lot of repetitive movements, like swinging a hoe over and over and over again, whereas before you were running, climbing, jumping, bending, foraging, hunting, skinning animals. You were doing all these different things.
Which was physical, but not repetitive.
Exactly.
And it's important to make that distinction. Yeah, it was a lot of, there are so many different movements you're doing when you're running, jumping, climbing a tree, swimming, shooting a bow, swimming. Yeah, you weren't just doing the same thing.
So you saw the same thing too with diet, because once you start farming a crop, the main thing you're going to eat is that crop. So if that's wheat or rice, and now
corn.
Your diet is mostly that now, supplemented with small amounts of game that you trap or deers that want, you know what I mean, whatever. Whereas before,
wander onto your land.
Yeah. Whereas before, when you're a hunter gatherer, you're killing bison, you're following bison herds, and then you're eating, you know what I mean, you're picking wild squash and you're eating fruit and berries and all these different things, nuts year round. So, and it changes season to season.
Yeah.
And as you wander from area to area, so you're getting all these diverse exposures to different micronutrients and protein sources and all the, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And not to mention the environmental pressures. You're shivering one day in the north, and then you're burning the next day, and you know what I mean, the next year in the south, whatever it is, as opposed to just sitting there and watch, So, and I'm not, like, it sounds like I'm demonizing agriculture. I'm not, because with agriculture, you can have 10 kids and be reasonably sure that 5 or 6 of them are going to survive. Whereas as a hunter-gatherer, it's like you'd only have a few kids, and, and you never know what's going to happen. Could be anything, could be not.
I'll take those odds.
Me too.
And you've also got the separation, like you said, there's a large gap of time between hunter-gatherer and agriculture.
Yeah.
In that time, development of medicine, all the kind of stuff that we saw, like disease and dysentery, would kill you or your kids when you were hunting.
Yep.
And you also got to figure that at the time when we were hunting, when you're skinning, when you're gutting, all that kind of stuff, you don't have the knowledge on parasites, on, okay, I need to properly...
There's an interesting dichotomy there, actually.
There?
They show that the individual actually was much more capable in terms of their knowledge base, because if you're a hunter-gatherer, you have to know how to kill an animal, track an animal, clean an animal. You have to know how to process leather. You have to know how to work stone or copper, whatever you're dealing with. You have to know every single plant in the forest, what you can eat, what you can't eat, what's medicinal, what do you know what I mean? So it's like the individual actually was a lot more capable. Whereas once you got a specialized knowledge base, all you knew how to do is plant and grow corn.
That's all you ever did.
Yeah.
But the other side of that is that once you do resign yourself to a lifestyle of simply planting and growing a crop, you have a lot more free time. And that free time, it's like, the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Once you can be reasonably sure outside of drought and famine, whatever, that your crops are going to be there, then all you have to do is really plant them, maintain them all year round, and then harvest them. So that's a lot more time to learn math and science and other stuff. It's like, you know what I mean?
Build civilization.
Exactly.
Yeah, all of that.
Yeah, expand your knowledge in other areas,
Sure.
but not necessarily ones pertaining directly to your survival in a harsh environment.
Right.
Because you don't have to really live in, you have to live in a harsher environment than we live in today. Yeah. I think the environment we live in today is the worst culmination of all the possible elements you could ever conceive.
Every single thing that people like us do is designed to replace that. That's why we expose ourselves to cold plunges and long runs and heavy lifts and all this stuff because that's no longer provided for us.
Yeah.
People are literally like myself included, developing entire lifestyles around finding more primitive food sources, which is very ironic when you think about it.
Yeah.
You know what
we're
I mean?
we're almost de-evolving.
Yeah.
Intentionally.
But you have to fight. I mean, do whatever you want. Don't get me wrong. I'm glad I live in a time with modern dental care.
Yeah.
Like I'm not saying like I'm not one of those. I'm not a liver king or whatever.
No.
But at the same time, you got to be careful about what you embrace and what you discard. And I personally find that in terms of just objective athletic performance, eating a diet like that and living a lifestyle completely centered around training and recovery as opposed to partying and drinking alcohol and doing everything, or whatever,
fast food,
or just like wasting time on silly things. It's not meant to be disparaging, but things that I don't have an interest in, objectively, or that don't enrich my life.
Yeah.
It's not as conducive to getting to where I want to get.
And
go ahead.
This was a point that we brought up we had the founder of Shamas. You can tell we're all wearing.
Oh yeah. They sent me a pair. Yeah.
And he was just talking about
on it, man.
Yeah.
Josh. Yeah.
I've worn them a couple times. I haven't run in them yet though. I want to try that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I do 3 miles at a time wearing these things, and it completely changes
Tap
the way
yourself
you
on the
run.
back.
Thank you. It's not an ultra marathon, but his point was like, in our society, in our day and age, we trade short-term comfort for long-term gains. And even with shoes, when you look at shoes, how padded they are, how they're built at an angle with the heel higher, all of those things might feel good. I literally saw Skechers coming out with a shoe that was a massage shoe, so it massages your feet while you walk.
Are you kidding? What, like it has a battery? Or
I have no idea. I didn't. But
you gotta charge your shoes before you go out and walk.
But his point was like we need to step back and look like, what is the long-term goal, especially for rest, recovery, strength building, nutrition, all of those things. And instead of sacrificing short-term comfort, we need to really embrace the long-term goals.
I would agree. I mean, you're going to pay that price either way. So do you want to pay, do you want to be in pain because you have diabetes and they're taking a foot off? Or do you want to be in pain just a little bit every day because you get up and you do 15 or 20 minutes of cardio or kettlebells or just something to,
Or you just can't eat that thing. You have to sacrifice the pleasure of eating that ice cream.
I'm not even sure. Well, each day for sure, but I'm not even sure you have to. I eat dessert every day.
Yeah.
I mean, and don't get me wrong, it's not like, oh, he's an ultra marathon runner, he can eat 6,000 calories. I mean, sure, but the thing is, like, it's moderation. Sometimes it's a Jolly Rancher or two, but you know what I mean? It's more of that mental reward. And
you're also eating the things you absolutely must eat in addition to...
Exactly. So this is where we get the discipline equals freedom speech. Because if you're disciplined on 90% of your, even 80% of your days, the other days you can eat the steak and have the ice cream, So, yeah, I mean, I think that's important. But I think people really do tend to like chicken, rice, broccoli, that mindset is just like... I mean, I eat steak and eggs pretty much every day.
Yeah, I was going to ask, what is your opinion on animal-based diet? I mean, it's coming around quite a bit.
I actually I've spent years cultivating a very specific diet just for myself originally. And so I have, we're actually going to be, I'm writing, not a book, but like a short nutrition guide on it at some point. But just because I get this question asked a lot, not even because like the world record stuff, but I think it's just because I do a lot of different things. So it's like, hey, how do you eat for jiu-jitsu? How do you eat for bear hunting? How do you eat for ultra running? How do you eat for lifting or, whatever you're doing? But it's just basically, I think, most of the same principles apply. There's different caloric needs and very small variations in macronutrient profiles for these activities. But my diet is pretty simple. Myself, day to day, I generally eat 2 meals a day.
Really?
I do. I mean, don't get me wrong. My calories are still whatever they need to be. But I eat 2 meals a day.
So do you just gore? I mean, those meals, are they big? You just eat a ton?
Yeah, and I snack as much as I need to in between those.
Sure.
But and don't get me wrong, I fuel my performance. I'm not an intermittent fasting like guru or guy. I eat 2 meals a day because the Spartans did. The rest of Greece ate 4 meals a day. The Spartans ate 2.
What times are you eating typically?
Generally about noon and 8. So I mean, it is but it's not like if I'm starving, I'm like, oh no, I'm in my fasting window.
It's not 8 yet. Don't eat it yet. Don't eat it.
And don't get me wrong, like when I wake up in the morning, I have I have a cup of coffee. I generally put butter in it. So like that. I'm not like
oh yeah,
bulletproof coffee.
Yeah,
love it.
I do some of the coconut oil sometimes, but it's a mountain man thing. The butter and the coffee goes way
Butter
back.
is, oh yeah, in my
Calories
opinion,
and
it's better.
it's amazing.
Butter is better to cook with, better to eat, better just in general.
What's the benefit of putting butter in coffee, though? I've never heard that.
Have you ever had it?
It tastes amazing.
It tastes amazing.
And like traditionally, we did it in the mountains because it's calories. It keeps you warm, keeps you going. But I like it. Just, yeah. I mean, you're familiar with the bulletproof coffee craze.
So Jake was just mentioning that. I haven't done like a lot of research on that as a
It's
whole.
essentially people were doing coconut oil in their coffees for a long time. Healthy fats, medium chain triglycerides. Be careful with those. If you put a lot of them in, you will be running for the toilet ASAP. But I do either butter or a mix of butter and coconut oil, just because I like it's delicious for one. I like the extra calories. It also tides me over. I don't get hungry in the mornings generally if I have one of those.
It's such a great nutritional source for fats. I mean, you're going to get the energy from it. It's also it's not processed like a lot of the seed oil things are. Even coconut oil sometimes I'm a lot of it is processed. Seedman, not Seedman, Saladino. Yeah. He was harping on coconut. He's like, look, if I have to pick a seed oil, I'll pick coconut. But coconut oil is not ideal. Eat butter.
Yeah.
Eat ghee.
I like the grass-fed butter. I mean, even Kerrygold or whatever. But like, there's all sorts. I experiment with new ones too. There's European ones that I'll get just to try. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I love butter, so I usually have butter in my coffee in the morning. I won't eat anything when I have that first meal. It's generally eggs and fruit every day with a green smoothie. Green smoothie has 2 scoops of whey in it. I think whey protein's great.
Yeah.
Especially
it's been
now
vilified quite a bit,
so much.
which doesn't make any sense.
And there's so many versions of it that don't have any lactose or don't have this, or they have digestive enzymes to help. So it's like at this point, there's so many options. The plant-based proteins got very popular there for a bit, and I'm not a huge fan.
I'm not either.
Yeah.
Have you tried any of the carnivore-based proteins? The ones that have the organs, the blood? Mark Bell's? Yeah, Mark's.
Yeah, Mark's actually, when I did my
Mark's my favorite.
About a year. Yeah, that's probably my favorite tasting protein shake of all time. Steak shake.
Yeah, steak shake. Shout out to Mark Bell. That's a good one.
Yeah, and when I last year I did I had a goal I wanted to deadlift over 500 pounds and run 50 miles in the same day, and I drank steak shake throughout that day.
I'm guessing you accomplished that.
Yeah.
Wow. I don't know which one is more impressive.
I pulled 520, and I wanted to go back because I had some more in the tank, but I hit 500. It came up easy. I hit 520, and there was still some more there, but I had the discipline to pull it back, and then I did some back off sets, and then I just went out to Folsom Lake and took off. And
how many miles?
50. All right, exactly.
That's the separator. There's a lot of guys out there. I'm not one of them, but there's a lot of guys that could pull 500. We had a guy in here. I don't know. Have you ever seen The Body Chemist?
No, but you posted something on a guy recently, right?
710.
That's great. I've never pulled anything like that.
He set the record here in the gym, but I mean, that guy's not going to go run 50 miles after doing that. That's insane. That's to have that balance between those two styles and really just your anaerobic and aerobic. That's incredible.
So that was my goal.
Yeah.
I like to keep my deadlift about triple my body weight and still maintain.
Is that all?
Yeah. Well,
what do you weigh?
Like right now I'm about 188. I'm normally about 181. I spent the last year like putting on quality mass. And so
shaving down, cutting down, anything but the bare essentials.
Yeah.
That's what I think makes the best. I like anaerobic endurance. And you set the world record for the weighted vest carry. Am I right on that?
You are correct.
What is the world record that you set?
Previously, a guy had run a little over 69 miles with 30 pounds. And then I accidentally ran 116.2 miles with between 35 and 38 pounds. I also
shattered it by 3 times.
How accidentally was this?
So about that, I also didn't stop or rest once.
How long did that take?
33 hours and 4 minutes and 16 seconds, I believe. Without, I did not stop with no rest stops, no breaks, no nothing.
For a day and a half, you just ran with this weight on your back.
Yeah.
My God.
What was the terrain like? Was it?
It was pretty. So it was pretty. I didn't do nothing too ambitious. I was mostly running along the American and Sacramento rivers and around Folsom Lake. So around Folsom Lake, there's some lower foothill stuff, but it's not. There was no crazy elevation gain.
Yeah.
However, when I finished, so the other thing was, well,
long.
When I on the second day, I kind of developed a little bit of a cough, and so when I finished, I took a COVID test and it was positive.
after the run.
Right, immediately after.
You were COVID positive while you.
It was the second time I'd got it, so I'm sure it was more mild than it would have been. But so the next day, the recovery off that was brutal because I tore my right meniscus, retore it. It was an old injury, and then I had several fractures in my feet from just the weight, from the nonstop running too. Because it's like your body, I think, just you need rest. Even
you're
like,
just not meant to do that. You're not. I don't really think there's much on this earth that's meant to run that long with that much weight without stopping. Camels don't even go that far that fast with that.
What kind of footwear were you wearing?
I was wearing a pair of Ultras. I'm trying to remember the Taurins, I believe, on that one. Okay. They were. I'm not super. I like Ultras a lot. I don't know much about the brands and stuff. Like I pick a few brands. I love Kuiu stuff for like outdoor and my running stuff.
It's not barefoot wear, I'm assuming.
No, it's a minimalist running it's hybrid. It's
a in the middle type of thing.
Wide toe box.
Yeah, and it's also of the Ultras who generally tend to lean more towards that, like wide toe box, neutral drop, minimal support ultra shoe. It's the second.
So it doesn't have a crazy high heel. Like
very very neutral, and I believe the one that I wore was the second or third lowest profile shoe that they make in their lineup, which is more profile. I don't like obviously much support, and I spent a lot of time barefoot as a kid, just growing up in the country, and then also
that's why you have that strength in your. That's why.
Yeah, and jiu-jitsu now. I spend a lot of time barefoot.
I've really sort of leaned into a philosophy that I've kind of coined, which is periodizing your footwear.
Oh yeah, smart.
A lot of times, I think people are not just with footwear, with just about anything you can imagine, nutrition, training. Everyone's kind of an all or nothing mindset. It's like, we absolutely must do this, or we absolutely must do this. I got to go to 90 degrees, not an inch lower, or I need to go all the way under the ground every time. Yeah. That's sort of the mindset I think that people find themselves in. And I think that's not necessarily the best way to go about doing things most of the time, especially when it comes to footwear. I mean, look at an example of what you just did. I mean, I want to wear barefoot shoes when I'm training, when I'm walking, and even when I'm hiking. If I'm hiking something that's, let's say, I mean, it's like under 5 miles round trip, something like that.
Sure.
But at the same time, I want to know in advance, well, okay, what kind of terrain am I doing? How far is this? Maybe I bring other shoes. Maybe I alternate between the two. If I'm doing something like the Grand Canyon, maybe I'm going to do, rim to rim a couple times. I'm going to take a couple days over there. I'm going to bring 2 pairs of shoes. First day, maybe I'm going to start with some trail runners. Then I'm going to go down. Maybe I'll do the Chamas. Then I'll go back. It depends. You have to have a plan. And I think that's important to sort of navigate that as opposed to just sticking to one dogmatic style of training in any shoe, no matter what it is.
I would agree. I mean, wild hunt conditioning, that's literally like the full spectrum training. We do the minimum effective dose of the maximum effective methodologies of a wide variety of different training styles and modalities. So it's like any of my athletes, like they're not all ultra runners. It's not anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
I tend to work primarily. I mean, I don't really coach individually much anymore, outside of like a few people that are either have been with me since the beginning or that I'm close to.
Mm-hmm.
But anyone who works with any of our coaches is going to see, they're generally going to be people either from a military or law enforcement background or some sort of fighter. Yeah, it's so tactical conditioning is where I got my start in terms of my education. Sure. So that was training.
What is your education from a sports science background? How did you get into this particular thing?
I kind of just essentially my official title, I guess, is just the tactical conditioning specialist. Mm-hmm. It's like my certifications and all that are centered around that.
Sure.
But I really just essentially I had like I wanted to do a bunch of different things, and I kept going to all these different coaches who were like the top of their field and asking like, hey man, how can I lift weights, run ultras, do jiu-jitsu, hunt bear, like do and like still feel like okay, and everyone just turned me away or was like, that's too many moving parts, or that's can't, you know what I mean? It's can't, like those are all opposing forces. You can't balance all that. Or like the best I'd get is like, all right, periodize it. You know what I mean? Like do this one during this season, this one during, you know what I mean? But like none of that appealed to me. Like no. I wanted it all. And I've always kind of been skeptical about a lot of the long-held assumptions in the fitness community, mm-hmm. like whether it's you can only build muscle with 8 to 12 reps of for hypertrophy, or that, you know what I mean? It's like when I need hypertrophy, by the way, I do 5 to 6 reps. I do them heavy, but I do 5 to 6. I might do put more sets, but anyway.
You got to go through building, then cutting, then building.
But it's like all the like anyway. So a lot of the assumptions I wasn't willing to accept. Good. And so I just started trying to build my own system, and very amateurly at first. I I would just like basically take bits of like strong first stuff from Pavel and bits of this and just try to like put these puzzle pieces together, and they wouldn't fit, or they would seem to fit, and then some shortcoming would be exposed here or there, and just over time I refined it. I've been very fortunate to study directly and indirectly under some of the greatest around.
You and I both went on Mark Bell. This is the second time we mentioned him. Did he have any influence on your early training methodologies?
So I didn't meet Mark until a little later, but I always learn everything I can from Mark.
Gotcha.
On every level. He's a great dude. But
Charles Poliquin, you ever listen to him? You ever read his stuff?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He was an early influence. I never met him, but he was an early influence on me.
I was really bummed when he passed.
I was fortunate enough to learn powerlifting stuff from Andrei Malanchev.
Oh, outstanding!
Yeah, some say is the great, the GOAT or one of the greatest powerlifters of all time. The guy squatted, I think, like 1080 or something. Just some insane.
That's right. It's just a disgusting amount of weight.
Yeah, I've been fortunate enough to study jiu-jitsu under some of the Lucas Lepre and some of the greats in person. So I've been very lucky. Marcelo Garcia and. The one thing is ultra running. I never found a very warm welcome in the community, honestly. I'm not sure if I was just different or they didn't really know what to make of me or what, but Zach Bitter is the only guy there who really went out of his way to be.
I don't know Zach.
He's in Austin, Texas, and he we have friends in common now, but when I reached out to him, he had no idea who I was or anything, and I just was like, hey, man.
Can you pull up his page, Jake? Zach Bitter.
Zach Bitter.
Bitter. Okay. And he's an ultra marathon coach.
He's an ultra marathon coach and one of the greatest runners. I think he's on the U.S. national team. But
is it ZACK?
Yep, that is him. And so,
very cool.
Like if you look at me, I'm a reasonably competent ultra runner in terms of the sport. Like I can run.
Follow him, Jake. I want to eventually talk to him.
He's a good dude.
Yeah.
He's a very good dude. Very hyper knowledgeable. Very animal based, by the way. He's
cool.
He's a low carb to keto runner, I believe. Like he adds only as many carbs as he needs.
Runs in ketosis.
I believe for his competition events, he adds just enough carbs to fuel his specific needs. But he's day to day. He's more animal based and more keto based. Last that I heard.
Yeah.
So for instance, to give you an idea, I can run 100 miles in less than 24 hours for sure. Just straight run it, right?
Sure.
He'll do it in less than 12.
My goodness.
Yeah.
Really?
What is your pace like? How do you pace yourself in an ultra marathon? I've always been curious about this.
I'm probably the worst person to ask. I just run.
Okay.
I'm not scientific. I don't know anything about breath work or anything.
Some of these guys are, yes.
Yeah.
Some of them are very...
Yeah. Oh, hyper scientific. I basically just, it's only been a year or two that I've been fueling properly. I used to just take a bison bar and a couple plums in my bag and take water out and just figure it out on the trail. You know what I mean?
If I'm hungry, I eat.
I'll come back a day later or something. You know what I mean? I'm not joking.
It's Forrest Gump that shit all the way there, man.
Yeah. I mean, you figure it out. But that's not what I'm recommending though. But the world record run, I fueled, prepared, trained properly. That's the other thing. I didn't used to train for ultras. I would just do them. And until a year ago, I smoked cigarettes too. So it was
You're kidding me.
No, when I did the first couple, I'd take smoke breaks. I'd stop. Yeah, I'm not joking. I would stop and be like, my girl would have I'd be like, hey, bring me one real quick.
Have you ever seen that video?
Chinese man?
The Chinese man crossing the finish line.
I've never done that.
In the lead, like smoking cigarettes. And people are like, what the hell?
No, I've never smoked on the run, but the first one I did, first couple, and so I do things more responsibly.
Like the John Daly of ultra running.
That's right.
That was it pretty much. And
that's
but
cool.
I can also tell you that you perform better when you're not smoking cigarettes and not eating enough running an ultra. So I prefer it this way for sure.
I'm sure. I mean, having done it both ways, is it as impactful as you would think? Smoking cigarettes?
Not as much as you'd think, but it's impactful for sure. It's undeniable, and it's not good for your health. And then also we know that at least the last research I saw, not that I'm a scientist or plugged in, but it's I think 20% of the human population has a set of genes that makes them hyper susceptible to cancer if they're
lung
smoking.
Cancer
Exactly.
if they're smoking. Yeah,
which is why some people smoke 80 years and die happy, and others smoke for a year and get cancer. Yeah, so it's don't roll the dice.
Yeah, we're living in 2023, man. We've known cigarettes have been bad for a very long time.
And this is coming. I'm a lifelong smoker. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Until I cut back like 2 years ago, and I quit completely. I think like a year.
So you started as a kid, I assume.
Yeah, I was like 16 or whatever, whatever.
That's what you do. I mean, in
was
any of the community, especially the hunting community, I mean, they all.
Well, that and it was also the least harmful of my chemical habits at that. You know what I mean? That was like I didn't even think like weed, alcohol, and nicotine weren't really drug. Like none of us really.
No.
They were just it's just like more of a food group than anything. And so now I don't drink alcohol now. And it's not like obviously I was a heroin addict for a long time. And so it's not. I don't really do the 12 steps. I kind of found everyone has their own path there. And for me,
I was going to ask your sobriety. What was the steps? So you didn't go to rehab. You didn't do 12 steps.
No, just
That's tough to kick that, man.
Yeah. And I quit cold turkey. So at this time I was actually on methadone and just really struggling to kind of stay clean and figure it out.
Yeah.
I was on a really high dose of it. I was like 135 milligrams.
Whoa.
And so they told me, like, the doctors told me not to quit cold turkey when I told them, like, I intended to, but I just had to. Like, I needed to, like, claim my life back. I needed to, like, fight back, and
I mean, again, I am not the one but is that does come with a risk, no?
Yeah,
I mean,
so
to stop
methadone's
that dose cold turkey, you can die.
Yeah. It was unlikely. It's possible, but unlikely. But it's way worse than quitting heroin because methadone, the reason they use it as a narcotic replacement is because it's very powerful and it lasts a lot longer, which means the withdrawals last not 4 to 5 days, but I think mine were like 16 days. And then on the 17th day, I woke up and it was weird. It was just like a switch. But for 16 days,
I'm confused. The withdrawal period is longer for methadone than heroin?
Yes.
Why would they replace heroin with methadone then?
Because it doesn't have a high to it. It's a powerful opiate with a very minimal high attached to it, so they can. And it's so strong that it overpowers any other opiates you throw in there. So if you're on methadone on a proper dose and you go inject heroin, you're not going to feel any. Your receptors are already completely nuked by the methadone, and so there's nothing for the heroin to bond to. So it's very effective. But the Nazis invented it for the very specific purpose of being a painkiller that doesn't get their soldiers high, so they can keep fighting.
So they just used it in trench warfare. You get shot, you shoot up.
World War II.
World War II, yeah. Does the correlation? I mean, methadone and methamphetamine, do they share any of the same? Totally different. Yeah. Totally chemical makeup. Okay. Yeah. Wow. So 16 days of withdrawals from methadone.
Yeah, and the withdrawals themselves are also more severe. Like I said, it's a more powerful opiate, milligram for milligram. I mean, people die overdosing on it all the time. I know many people who have.
Yeah.
So it's controversial as a treatment. I have no doubt that a few decades or a century down the line, when people are looking back, it will be one of those barbaric treatments like, lobotomies or whatever.
Bleeding people out.
Yeah, exactly. Like, why would we even do that,
Man, we had some crazy practices back in the day. They used to, for women's health, they used to like remove their uterus to help with mental illness or something like that. I remember
we did leeches. I
hear that a long time ago, people used to like inject plastic into their body parts. It's crazy, right?
Now we're eating it.
Either on purpose or by accident.
Yeah.
Now we'll eat that. We'll eat a whole bunch of weird stuff in our food now.
Right. But so anyway, that started the long journey. But I guess you could say that win, getting through that. Oh, and also I lived next door to a methadone clinic at the time, so it was like I was staring.
Convenient.
Literally, like
So you just go out and just look at anything.
Yeah. Oh no, I wasn't walking anywhere, but I knew, like, you know what I mean. It's literally right there.
How has wild hunt conditioning? I mean, how has it progressed since you started it? Where do you see it going, and where has it came from where it began?
Man, I'm so grateful. It blew up super quick.
Yeah, I've seen it everywhere.
I only took the company public, or not public, like in terms of shares, but I only took it like onto social media and started kind of sharing stuff like a year and a half ago or something, like somewhere in that. And I only really started trying to grow the count like last fall.
Which for someone who doesn't care about social media, kudos, by the way. That is done very, very well.
I mean, like it's the space I work in, so you can't say I don't care about it, but it's not something I wasn't savvy with, like the culture of it. And I'm still like, I don't know much about the fitness world or the fitness community. It's like day-to-day stuff, like you probably have me reaching out to you to ask you questions on, who this person is or what you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But basically I just try to focus. It's like I've stumbled into this kind of way of doing things where I never focus on the result. I try to just focus on the process. Like, I've always been fascinated with the samurai, not just because of my family history, but just in general,
Your
my
mom,
mindset.
right? Yeah,
exactly. And she comes from a very old Japanese family too, so there's like a long line of history, including some of the famous samurai going back.
Is she still in the picture with you
My mom's
today?
still-
Yeah,
yeah,
gotcha.
yeah.
What does she think of everything what you've made, what the transformation you've made personally?
She was the only one that was there for all of it. She's
Yeah.
a saint, like an actual saint, just beyond belief. But I imagine she's pretty proud. But
Well, you have a very powerful. You've got a very powerful testimony, even more powerful than I think the company you've made. I mean, the story that what you've come through and what you've overcome and what you've accomplished on top of that. I mean, a lot of people, they come out of recovery, that's great, but then they don't really accomplish shit when they're out. Maybe they're clean, but they don't, that's it.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, to really understand that there are a lot of people out there that are going to be in that boat. There are a lot of people out there struggling with that sort of addiction right now. And to see that you've turned what do you think is the biggest appeal to this, to your branding, to the fact that you've created this well-rounded, well-versed style of training? It has to do with the outdoors, the ancient man, all of that hunting. What is that? Do you think there's a...
Yeah. So I would say for some people, they definitely come for heritage and history, and they want to understand where we come from, why we train the way we do, why we live the way we do, what's missing from the way we live. But for a lot of people, I think it's just the freedom that comes literally and figuratively with being able to pursue a lifestyle like I try to pursue, and being able to train in a way that lets you interact with the real world in an effective way.
Yeah.
So you can do, if you want to run, if you want to lift, if you want to swim, if you want to go hike the Appalachians, if you want to, do whatever you like, you can literally do whatever you want.
You ever thought about doing any big hikes like K2, Everest?
So I can't drop it just yet, but let's say that the next challenge this summer, late summer, early fall, is going to be something of that nature, and it's going to be far in excess of what I did with the world record.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's have a conversation. Let's discuss it later, because I think you and I might need to actually collaborate on something like that. Okay. I've been an avid hiker my entire life. I mean, I've never done anything huge like that. I hold a local record. That's about it. But for me,
that's awesome.
Hiking is probably my favorite activity, my favorite expression, because it gives you a real opportunity. I love hunting. Hiking and hunting to me go kind of hand in hand. If you're really good at one, you'll have a leg up in the other. Hunting's a whole new different experience because you've got the spiritual connection to the forest, to the animal you're hunting, the ritualistic practice that it takes. And that is the other thing. It's a misunderstood practice. People don't get how difficult hunting really is. Just physically, but emotionally, and it's such a vested amount of time and effort in order to get that satisfying. The principle of delayed gratification is never better explained than in a hunting environment.
So you said so many things I agree with in that sense. But to start, it's extremely misunderstood. If you think about it logically, all the possible outcomes for the life of an animal, obviously factory farming doesn't even make it in like that. We can dismiss that from the get-go. There's no way to live in a cage and then get bolt gunned in the head, you know what I mean, and bleached and ground up, like, obviously. So in terms of hunting versus factory farming, obviously hunting is going to be a more humane, natural alternative. Food quality aside, obviously there's no higher quality than eating an elk that's
that you just got in its native, on its mountain, on its hill, in its home.
Right. But also look at that elk like individually. What are the possible ways that its life can come to an end? Do you think that being torn apart by wolves is going to be better, or slowly dying by disease, or getting ground out by a larger male slowly and withering?
Yep.
Or do you think that maybe not seeing it coming, one of my arrows zips through, double heart or double lung and heart shot, and he might not even feel it or notice what's happening.
Often they don't.
Yeah.
That's another thing. If it's a clean shot, people don't get that. They don't. It's not like this big dramatic event. Oftentimes they don't even realize it happened. You'll zip them. They'll take a little trot, and that's the thing too. Is when you do it, you don't ever chase them.
No,
you let them
wait.
You
30
wait
minutes or so.
Exactly. Yeah. You let them go. They'll usually bed down, and then they'll just bleed out. And that's it.
Not like a gunshot. There's no shock. There's no, you know what I mean? It's not like, and gunshots are humane too. Like,
They are, but I think there is something even more. I mean, I haven't rifle hunted in a very long time. I have done it. I like and I respect the bow so much more. Yeah. It's a much more, it's kind of annoying to me if I'm being frank. When you go out hunting, you see those big fat bastards out there. It's like, all right, I'm going to go hack my way up to this tree line and chill out. I'm like, dude, you really haven't actually earned a lot of this. Like, you hired a guide, you're out in that tree, and you're getting fed yourself.
Are you talking about Jimmy John?
I got a few people in mind that I can think of that have been doing that.
Yeah.
And I don't like that. I like bow hunting. I like dog hunting. I like it when you actually have to get your ass out there, and you got to be in some sort of shape to get this done. Yeah. Bow hunting, you got to get within 100 yards. I mean, I don't trust myself outside of 75. If I'm being honest with you, I don't take it.
I don't shoot anything outside of 50.
Perfect.
I mean, with maybe with herbivores, but with like a bear, I like 40. I like closer than that.
Oh yeah.
But the
10.
And they're hard to track. You're not going to get a second shot. And what if he turns? Like I want to be sure. And with the bear, you need a slightly different angle than the broadside that you're looking for. With like an elk or a deer, you want it slightly quartered away because that shoulder blade and that meat, like they're jacked. Their shoulders are jacked.
Mm-hmm.
But no, it's I think it's by far the most humane way to do it. And yeah, don't sit, drinking Budweiser over a pile of corn in a tree stand with, and try to just reach out and touch a, a little doe with the tip of your Winchester you picked up at Walmart on the way over. And, or worse, the guys who are, fully decked out Navy SEALs who, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We all know the type.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, there is something about archery that I think just levels the playing field more than any, well, other than maybe a spear. Yeah, it levels the playing field more than anything else I've ever seen as far as hunting goes. And again, you have got to work for it. Yeah. And if you're a gun hunter, it'll be a clean kill, and even if it's not, the animal is still going to suffer a lot less than if it's starved to death or if it got like you said, eaten by wolves or any of the above. Yeah. So yeah. It's an incredible experience. It's also a very, and this has been my experience, you mentioned, the humanity of it. It's a very human experience to go out and hunt for your food.
Yeah.
It makes me sad that, what percentage of people do you think never do that? 99, 98% of human beings have never hunted and killed their food? Mm-hmm. Never.
So my girl and I were watching what was it? Oh no, it wasn't. We normally would watch it alone, but we were watching a Naked and Afraid.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Admittedly, being kind of mean girls, but we were watching it, and there was like a vegan chick on there.
Yeah.
And at first she was all like, "Oh no, we can't." She wouldn't let this guy move a bird nest. He went to it was empty, no eggs, no bird. It was like just a bird, like an old. And she's like, "No, they might come back." So and then like 6 days later, she was like, they see a snake and she's like, kill it. But at the end, like she ends up, I think they find another snake and she ends up doing the kill because it's like about to get away and if she kills it. And afterwards, she has like this moving experience, and she's like, I understand, like I feel bonded with this animal now, like it gave its life so I can survive, and she had like an emotional experience. And then like the after credits, they're talking about like so and so went on to do this, and then it goes to her, and she's like, and she went on to develop new outdoor skills, particularly hunting. So she got just completely transformed.
Wow. And not a lot of vegans on the Naked and Afraid stuck. If you're stuck in the wilderness and you got to live, yeah, you're not going to be a vegan no more.
You're not going to find tofu around the corner.
I do not know one who would hold to that under those circumstances.
That's another one. Who was it who first went into the process by which they create tofu? And who was it?
Ted Nugent.
Ted Nugent. You ever seen that?
No.
The Ted Nugent rant on Joe Rogan about making tofu.
No. I saw him go on Rogan. I must not have
seen
that part.
My gosh. I knew who Ted Nugent was. He became my favorite person for probably a month after I saw that. It's the funniest because he says, in a nutshell, he basically says, he's like, so you're telling me that in order to make your Impossible Burger, I got to kill every tree squirrel,
I do remember
every shrew, every. He's like, that's what it takes. F you. He's like,
I grew up in farmland, like you know what I mean. And you got the shit you got to cut, spray, and burn just to to plant that rice. But it's I try not. I'll self trigger if I like dive into a lot of that stuff. So
of course,
step over it and move on. But like, hey, eat whatever you want to eat. Just don't come after me, and don't call me a monster because I spend 2 weeks in the spring and 2 weeks in the fall out chasing bear, and you know what I mean.
Oh, it's the same to me. It's the same thing. People who want to eat fast food, it's like, hey, man, go for it. That's totally your right. You eat however you want to eat. Just don't come crying to me when you have, like you said, your leg's about to be cut off. You have diabetes. You've got a fatty liver. You drank every night. Like, this is America. And even if it's not, eat whatever you want, live however you want. But I love the message that you're putting out, the combination of the exercise, the endurance, and the practical application to something that is the oldest ritualistic practice that people have been doing, which is just outdoor hunting, the conditioning that goes with that.
Yeah.
Well, man, this has been really,
Awesome.
really freaking awesome.
Yeah.
I've really
I had a
liked
great
this,
time
bro.
with this.
You like that? I mean, that was fun.
Truly,
Yeah.
truly.
Good
I
talk.
feel like we could go on for days.
Yeah, I feel like we could
Definitely.
too.
Yeah.
So, where can people find you, James, if they want to get in touch or they want to learn about this?
Yeah, pretty much just wild hunt conditioning across the board.
Okay.
Instagram, YouTube. We have a website. You can just find it usually linked in any of our social platforms. It's a Shopify link.
Okay.
And check out new book, A History of
Yes.
Physical Fitness.
Oh, we can't stop now. You got to tell me about this book, man.
Real quick.
You tell me what is a history of physical fitness?
Yeah, so it's basically just a look, and it's not a specific period of time. Like a lot of people have done books on like weightlifting in early 1900s or strongman, or this is just a full breadth of everything. So there's stuff that goes back thousands of years, like prehistoric levels, like literally. Here, actually, I have one.
Yeah.
What was the first lift? The first of all weight lifts, of all the compound lifts that every personal trainer
That we still use today. What was the very first one?
Very first
Ooh,
Deadlift, that's my guess.
you think it's deadlift?
That's my guess.
That actually might be mine too.
Deadlift?
Be the deadlift, yeah.
What do you think?
It's a tough one. I'll go with deadlift too.
Wow.
We're all correct.
Is it a deadlift?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what is lifting a heavy stone off the ground? It's a deadlift, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same thing. So that was one of the first like competitive competitions of any of strength nature, the first altogether that we can verify. That and wrestling.
Where
essentially.
did it originate from?
We don't know. We can take it back to like Paleolithic times, but we don't know where it started because it just goes back. But the reason that they know is because they find some of these rocks that have been artificially smoothed and are like, along
For
certain-
competition.
exactly, and specific like weights and sets. So it's like if you find 12 stones and 3 of them are this exact same size and weight, and then the next 3 and the next 3, you have a pretty good idea. And then a lot of them have specific engravings and stuff on them.
Yeah.
like
Maybe
ancient-
the name of the winner or
and so
something like that.
ancient
Yeah.
Prehistoric Japan, and like it's one of those things that spans across the world. Like the Basque people of northern Spain right now still do like stone lifting, still part of like their annual festivals, and
Yeah.
so like it goes back literally to the beginning, and then all the way up to more modern stuff. Rocky Marciano and Muhammad Ali, the way they trained and ate, and everything in between. Ancient Greece, Rome. So
Yep.
it really is just a broad
Training for the
list.
games, training for the gladiator training.
Strength,
You-
endurance, diet, and mindset too. Like there's just some cool stuff.
You mentioned the Japanese. I mean, the mindset and the stuff they taught to the warriors, and the combination of strength training and cold therapy and stuff they did
Oh,
with
yeah.
the
They
snow.
contrast.
They did
Yeah.
contrast therapy.
They mastered the contrast stuff, if you ask me.
Human exercise physiology is one of the most fascinating subjects, and I love diving into the history. Because I'm such an exercise equipment junkie. I love seeing the technology literally change kind of before my eyes. But even digging back to some of the older, more like the steel mace, the club stuff
yeah,
they
those go
used
way
in
back.
Persia. I mean
Ancient Egypt.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, how am I going to get stronger in combat? All right, well, let's put this bigger stone on the end of this rod and let's make you swing it 10,000 times a week, and I bet you'll be better at it.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Yeah. Secret training houses in Persia used them. I mean, it's like that's another one that you see. Indian, like if you look at Indian grappler or just Indian strength training in general, the Great Gama.
Indian
and all that.
Native American or Indian
Indian from the Indian subcontinent.
from the Indian subcontinent.
But it's
Okay.
like they didn't really do like the crazy heavy lifts. They did high volume calisthenics, very heavy clubs, and like some of the functional weighted stuff. They climbed poles and ropes. They swam, like very diverse. The Inuit are another one who had like they're arguably in my mind the tribe with the most well balanced training program that I've come across.
Wow.
Fascinating. The Inuit.
Yeah, I mean
Why?
They do the things that even most training programs, even at a professional level, lack today. So it's like they did all the basic stuff, strength training stuff that we all know about, but they also did weighted jumps. They do knee jumps. So like, literally jumping from their knees. They do neck strength stuff. They have literally in their Arctic,
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
well, in their Arctic games, they have a game where like 2 guys strap their heads together with like be like you and me would strap
I've
up on
seen
the
that.
back, and we get on our hands and knees and try to pull
it apart.
Yeah, and it's like most training programs today aren't that well balanced
No.
and figured out. They have all sorts of crazy, like I said, jump stuff, functional strength training, neck training, like isometric stuff. There's this crazy event where it's like you see how many people you can carry. Like literally, you like all your boys just hang off your arms and off your back and off front, back, side, and you just see how far you can carry. Like
You
4
just
of them.
stand there and just
No, you run like it's a weighted carry
you
with all your
carry 'em.
homies on you. Yeah, it's like one on your back, one off each arm, and it's like you literally. I have a video. Like I'm doing a post on I think this week, and it's like one of the little cuts in there is a guy carrying 4 of his homies, and he's not like he's like built like me, I think. You know?
Right. Oh, I love the historic posts that you do and stuff. I've learned a lot from the page.
Yeah,
it's very cool, and it's such a fascinating thing that we as a species we've always been at least slightly obsessed with strength, and to a degree we've always wanted to know, like, all right, which one of us can carry that rock the furthest? Which one of us can swim across this the furthest? It's just kind of in our blood. Yeah. We want to know.
Apparently, a lot of people do, because the book just released yesterday, and it, like when I went to bed last night, it was the #1 new release in its section.
There you go. That's awesome, man.
That's
Congrats.
awesome.
Yeah.
Where can they buy it?
Amazon.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
That's great.
A History of Physical Fitness by James Pieratt. It's paperback and Kindle. I'm sure we'll have a hard copy out before.
Yeah, you got to get one to us, man. We'll put it up in here.
We will.
That's great. I want to read it. Are we talking, if it was a hard copy, are we talking the Bible, or are we talking,
no, I think it's like 153 pages, so it's not crazy, and it's readable too. So it's like the entries in there range from like short stuff like social media posts to full length chapters and breakdowns. There's also like
$12, guys.
Yeah.
That's great.
Like,
oh, I love the Spartan helmet. That's very cool.
Yeah, a buddy of mine drew that. He's a tattoo artist, actually.
Good for him. That's cool. I like the adaptation of that. No, the Spartans the Spartans get a lot of glory, of course, for their physical prowess and whatnot.
They did it better than anyone in terms of like maybe the samurai, but absolute commitment and like a lifestyle revolving around it. They did it better than anyone.
Yeah.
But there's also cool stuff like there's a tribe in the South Pacific, the Bajau, who are literally superhuman. Like they're literally
today?
The real life today.
Really?
They have been living completely at water for thousands of years now. Their spleens are twice the size of yours and mine to scrub oxygen more efficiently. Their brains and their vital organs, including their heart, require less. Like they can function function perfectly on a lower level of oxygen. Their cells, like their hypoxic responses.
Are these the guys that are swimming down to the bottom of the? I've seen these guys. Have you seen this?
Yeah.
They grab stones and they sink to the bottom of the ocean and they spearfish.
It's on National Geographic. There's something.
That's the same one.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they
the
do,
fish people. They call them
rock belts. They have belts. They fill pouches with rocks. Drop down there. Some of them will burst their own eardrums when they're young, so they can go deeper, like hundreds of feet, like crazy feet.
What?
Yeah, but they can't hear shit when they're older. But they they make that sacrifice. Like they're about that, but they have physiological adaptations, and no one knows how they came to live completely on the water. Like there's different legends. There's the one legend that seems that they themselves use, or some of them the bands use, is that they were bodyguards to like a princess in ancient times, and she was taken and they were shamed. Like she was taken under their watch, like on a sea voyage, and they were shamed, and like they swore they'd never go back to land.
Whoa.
And so it's like, yeah, there's no one knows for sure.
Do they just exist on the like rafts and stuff?
They
on
essentially
ships?
Just small boats and caravans. They lash them together to like trade and live in like little mini mobile towns, and they break them up. They go on fishing voyages. They scavenge a lot of stuff from the bottom of the sea, both food and stuff that they'll trade or scrap or whatever.
And water. Where do they get water?
I don't actually know. They have access to islands. And
I guess they
like
can.
That.
I mean, if they have to go,
and in modern times, I'm sure it's easier. But I imagine it's just island sources most of the time, and rain and whatnot.
That's a crazy way to live.
That's nuts.
People are amazing. People really are.
I was just amazed at like the nature and that. Like, I mean, your spleen is twice the size of mine, and you can, you know what I mean. And you can like a child from your tribe can stay underwater longer than an Olympic diver. Like just chilling, you know.
Yeah. Well, just the microevolution that's happening to those people as they breed and as they continue to have. You would think your kid is probably a little bit more physiologically prepared for that than I was, because I did it for 35 years, and then I had him, and now he's doing it from the time he's born, and it just keeps going. How many generations do we know? How many generations of people have been doing that?
A couple thousand years. So
oh my gosh,
Jesus times more or less, I think.
What?
Yeah. So it's
insane.
It is. So yeah, the book looks at that. It like again it looks at the Spartans, and they were an enigma even in their own time. Like
Yeah.
if you were to ask the Athenians in 400 BC how the Spartans trained, he wouldn't know a whole lot more than we do. They spoke their own language. They lived their own way. They actually came from a different lineage of Greeks. They were from the Doric Greeks who were there before the Mycenaean civilization came and established modern Greece.
Right.
So they were just kind of always this mysterious outsiders. They were big hunters.
Alexander the Great was Macedonia, correct?
Yeah.
So not from the Spartan.
No,
lineage.
they rose like kind of in the void, left like the Spartans. Essentially, when their way of life became compromised and they started adapting trait, they were victims of their own success. They were so badass that they conquered essentially everyone and ruled Greece for a couple centuries, but they started acting like Greeks once they conquered other Greeks, and and it slowly began this decay, and eventually, Athens topped them, and then Macedon came along and just
conquered everybody.
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 So, but yeah. So anyway, we looked at them closely, archaeological evidence, ancient texts, like all sorts of recreations and all sorts. So it's been arguably the most detailed breakdown of Spartan training and diet in existence.
Dude, I gotta read this.
I want to read this book. Have you considered doing an audiobook for this?
Yeah, I'm sure we will at some point.
Yeah,
I'm sure we will.
Do that.
Yeah.
Because then you can direct link it. People can listen to it, especially while they train. I mean, who wouldn't listen to this while they're working out? Are you kidding me?
Bro?
Dude, this is like a
Put a little Spartan music in the background.
I didn't think of that.
Yeah,
Yes.
make this into like I would use transitions with like really aggressive like music, you know what I mean, between
or some
chapters.
300 stuff.
Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun. Like, and then the next chapter.
Have people running through their walls.
Oh my gosh, the motivation! I can feel it even now. I haven't even read a page. Hey, thanks for coming on, man.
No, thanks for
Seriously,
having me,
this is amazing what you're doing. I commend you. I think you're gonna help a lot of people, and
Appreciate it, brother.
It's been an honor.
It has.
Thanks for having me, guys.
All right, buddy. We all good there? Thank you guys so much for watching that episode of Becoming the 1% podcast. If you like the content and you want to see more of it, hit the like and subscribe. Activate that notification bell as well. We really appreciate it. If you guys want to see more of it, we actually have the Becoming the 1% Instagram, and the podcast is available on Spotify. For our socials, we have Strict Vision Athletics on Instagram, we have it on YouTube, and we have it on TikTok.